Namaste. Good morning, beautiful souls. Today, I'm going to talk about the Empress card and share with you some of my favorite Empresses. And I also want to say that it's just brilliant how this has played out just through synchronicity that today is Friday. Today is Friday, the day of Venus, the day of Goddess. And so we honor her in every way on this day, and it's my pleasure to talk about this card. And I want to welcome Jose, new member. I really appreciate all of your support. And if you're not aware, I have a lot of members-only content on my channel, diving really deeply into many decks, among other things. And our current deep dive is the Tarot Avatara, which is the story, which is a deck connected to the story of Frida Kahlo and her husband Diego. And yeah, so lots to look out for on my channel. So yes, and the new moon is also in Cancer. So it's a very powerful, watery, feminine energy. And so today I thought I would start with the Shadowscapes Tarot and just start talking. Yeah, my name is Sadhana if you're new, and I'm a tarot reader, and I've been around for a little while, and it's my pleasure to share all of this with you. And if I can be of support in your journey in any way, please reach out. Good morning, Clevis and Aria. Emilia, namaste. Hi there, Dee. Okay. The art of Stephanie Puimunla, the artist of the Shadowscapes Tarot, is absolutely stunning. There's something about working with this deck that feels otherworldly. And I will do a reading before I sign off today for the new moon in Cancer. For all of us, a message from Venus, honoring our sensual natures, and not just our sexuality, but our way to connect with our experience in this world through all of our senses, and to really find pleasure and joy in life. And this is exactly the feeling that I get with the contact with the Fae in the Shadowscapes Tarot. Really beautiful. Good evening, Saskia. And this Empress here in the Shadowscapes Tarot, it's like the fabric of, it's the flow of energy that is so incredibly beautiful. And in the words of Carmen from the Philarcos Tarot, Carmen Sorrenti, she asks, what are your rhythms? What are your rhythms? And what riches have you harvested? She talks about so many beautiful things. I think I might, when I put that card on the table later, read more from her PDF guidebook. But there is a rhythm to the connection with this archetype. And the reason I have these two older cards on the table as well simultaneously is to reflect on, of course, the historical connections, but the greater archetype of this. And Stephanie Puimun, her women tend to be absolutely gorgeous and very thin and extremely flexible. They're just gorgeous, if that is your sense of beauty. But there's something beyond that their energy evokes. And maybe this is a card more than anything of connection. I do today want to talk about the connection of the Empress to the Emperor. And I think that is something that is fundamental in understanding her ability to harmonize and balance the environment. On the Tree of Life, Golden Dawn correspondence, she connects the second and third Sephira. She is the top horizontal line that completes the supernal triangle. What does that mean? That means that this archetype connects the divine masculine to the divine feminine. It connects the right and the left pillar. It creates a place, an energy for anything to be created. So she is the one that completes that triangle and creates that sacred space within the triangle for all of our possibilities to develop. Now, there, of course, are other interpretations of the Tree of Life. And in Tarot of the Holy Light, in that particular tree, and all of these different versions of the Tree of Life have different names, but in that one, she connects the the second Sephira to the fourth Sephira. And when I think about that in terms of Golden Dawn correspondences, which is what I'm most familiar, that connects also to very strong masculine archetypes of the Father, the divine masculine energy, with Jupiter. Also a powerful, expansive masculine energy. And it is because of her strength, it is because of her energy that we know the beauty and abundance that we experience in this earth. And I think we can look to the tarot and our tarot study to widen our understanding at multiple levels of these archetypes. The tarot on the bottom is the Gasman Tarot, and one of my favorite Marseille tarots. And when I look at that particular tarot, I see wings rather than a throne or a chair behind her. And I also want to share with you a little bit from the writings of Mel Meline this morning. And in her Empress card in Tabula Mundi, the Empress wears wings. And these are not wings of the angel, these are wings of the white eagle, connecting her to her power. And there's just something about this card that I just really feel carries a deep and very secret sort of message. In her belly, there is a hint of, as well as the one above, which is the Fine della Torre, I feel like there's a hint of the possibility of a pregnancy, symbolically. And more than anything, this archetype holds a space for creation. It's all about that. And after years and years of trying to wrap my head around the Purusha, Prakriti, Shiva, Shakti concepts, these yogic paradigms that teach us that we can't have one without the other. They are and I don't like the word interdependent, but they are two parts of a whole. And one of the things I love in Stephanie Pouy-Moon Law's art is that she chose to give the Empress a hint of an orange, a hint of like the dress is orange. It in a way is it's a reference to her power, to her connection to the Emperor, to her solar side, to her divine masculinity that she holds within. The flowers are also of the same color. This large illustration that I'm showing you is from a picture book. It's called The Art of Shadowscapes Tarot, and it has large image and sketches of the stages of the creation of the major arcana of this deck. So this is our arcanum that I am so intrigued with, especially when I hear about our state of global disaster environmentally. And I think she is one who screams reciprocity, and I love that that is part of the discussion in the Filarcos Tarot. That is the last thing that Carmen Sorrenti asks. And that is, what is your ecological responsibility? What are you ready to take on? What are you willing to take on? And that could be something really small within your home, your family, your community. But I think she evokes that in so many ways. And so, yes. Oops, I put it away. Just going to get that card out again. There you are. And yes, I do have the Czech version of this deck as well. But I just feel connected to the version that I trimmed, and it reads beautifully in a large reading because the cards are very small. So this is the Empress from Tabula Mundi. And let me zoom in for you. And I have Mel's book right here, so I'm just going to read a couple things from her wise words. In the Crowley deck, like in the Crowley deck, she has the figures, the first three figures, in the shape of the alchemical signs. So the Magician is in the shape of Mercury, of the glyph, and she is in the shape of the glyph of salt. And then the Emperor is in the shape of sulfur. That's why her body position is like that. I don't know what to read from here. It's just so amazing. So this door that's here, that has the Empress glyph here, and then there's a heart, and then inside the heart is revealed some honeycomb. And like, this is an enlarged version of what is actually on her chest here. The Empress creates and gestates what the Emperor seeks to order. The door over her heart opens to reveal a heart full of honeycomb. And in the foreground is a blown up diagram of the heart door to show the details of the image. We see the progression from the virgin pomegranate heart of the priestess. I didn't show you her priestess card as Kore, Persephone, to the fertile honeycombed hive heart of the Empress as Demeter. Honey in the heart, an expression which means the power of love, the power of Venus. And from out of the store of her heart, hive worker bees fly, the females of the hive, in an ever outward golden spiral. The golden spiral is a logarithmic spiral whose factor equals the golden ratio in art and nature, leading to ordered forms that are aesthetically pleasing, appropriate for Venus. This pattern is seen in nature in everything from plant growth to honeybees. And if you divide the number of female bees by the number of male bees in the hive, you get 1.618, the golden ratio. And she goes on just so exquisitely describing this card. And I think this is a really card that is a rich card that is full of wealth. The lotus wand connects us to Isis. Let's go to Dee's comment. The Empress feels like the active energy worker in the world, the conduit of Emperor's strength, ability. Ooh, yes, that's a beautiful description. She combines her energy with his work, with all earthly powers, and she holds this space. And I think I'm sure many of you have stood in her power in great waves or hurricanes or other times when it's really overwhelming to see her force in action, which is a force to reset, a force to reharmonize something. And whenever I hear news of some, horrific wave that has taken out a community or a hurricane that has destroyed something, part of me sits back in awe of the power of nature to protect and go on. And that's part of who she is, with the force of the Emperor. So yeah, and let's get Carmen's card on the table. So here's another favorite Empress, and I know one of you or more shared this beautiful card. She is covered in beautiful ladybugs, and the greenery that fills her chest takes on the shape of a downward facing triangle. The cup is her heart. There are dragonflies, there are pollinators everywhere. There are gems and crystals. It's just an extraordinary card. She truly is one with all of nature. Earth personified, roses blooming at her chest, lush vegetation, the molten core gleaming with metal and crystal ore, ladybirds flit like red splashes of passion spreading along the waxing moon. The flowering is alive with hummingbirds, dragonflies, crickets, and geckos. Let's zoom out a bit so I can place some more cards here. I, many of you know, I'm a fan of Shirley MacLaine, and I don't know if you see her face in this Empress card from the fountain, but I laughed so hard when I opened this deck, and I thought, oh my God, there's Shirley. And I was a young woman. I was in Japan at the time, and I was reading her books. This was many years ago. And I remember that scene when she was in Machu Picchu, and she was in a, what would you call it? Like a hot springs. She was in a hot springs. And I just remembered just that scene and her connection with the land and the earth and all that she moved. And more recently, I read her Camino book, and it's really at a whole other level. But I appreciate her bravery And I certainly do. Um, I listen attentively to all that she has to share. And in this card, this Empress stands in the richness of the green, the green of Venus, the waters of Binah, the Divine Mother. And the waters are quite dark. I think this is just an extraordinary card, and she is illuminated around her head. Absolutely love the wrap that she wears over her shoulders. It's simply gorgeous. I imagine it was hand made, and the texture of it is beautiful. And I don't know, I've always felt really attracted to this card. Yeah. And then there's a few others that I have out today, and I've been going through the manga tarot again and really appreciating the reversals of archetypes. And so we see a very powerful Empress here who, the Emperor in this deck is seated in a cross-legged posture and is not in a stance like this. And there's something really dynamic about this energy. I will protect the earth, and I really like this active energy, and yet she has the softness of the symbol on the shield, and the colors really speak to the energy of Venus, her clothing, even her armor. And I'm going to have to zoom in again because I want you to look at this card really carefully. This is from the Architect's Tarot. And this is really a deck that has me scratching my head. But I was sitting pondering this card and thinking about the bridge, which I normally associate with the Hierophant. And then I'm thinking, okay, this is about connections. Connections from a barren land to a land rich with trees and greenery. She stands over the majesty of the earth. It almost appears as if the earth below her is full of crystalline shapes. The water flows. And in this weird sort of a way, this card, there's something really deep to be said here. And she stands with a staff at the foreground on the left side in this card. Tiny, and that really is something as well too, that the majesty of this earth, the perspective here really appeals to me. And there's something about that bridge and the pathway into the forest, which is illuminated by, I don't know if there are 12 stars above. I didn't actually count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, there are 12. Okay. I just think it's a clever take on the Empress. And then the other two I pulled out. This is oops, I'm zoomed in way too far. This is Rhiannon from the Llewellyn Tarot. And she sits in this is like a, what would you call it, a green woman kind of card, except she's not at her cauldron, she's in a throne. But it's like she, again, much like the Philarkos, she is one with nature. And the paintings of the major arcana in this deck are just, again, another deck that would have benefited from much larger paintings because of their detail, their depth, their richness of color, particularly in the major arcana. And I've also been going through all of the cards and the stories in Tarot of the Divine. And this is another card where I feel like, I showed you yesterday, there could have been another assignment of card for the Empress. And this is the story of this Guadalupe, the mother of Guadalupe, the saint of Guadalupe. And this, I don't know, I think there might be, while this is a really beautiful Empress card, I think matching story to card it's kind of important when you're making a deck like this. And I love the roses. The roses, of course, are a symbol of Venus, of the Empress. And there's a strength to the red color, and the green color is Venus. And there's something quite beautiful here. She stands in complete harmony in her environment. So as part of this process, in going through many of my decks, I'm thinking of other projects that I would like to take on. And one might be a project with the Tarot of the Divine and reassigning the cards to other archetypes, like I did with the Hush and my soul cards. So yeah, so what are my top 5 cards? What are my top 5? Well, for sure these 4. For sure these 4 here. And I'm going to include this one. I'm really touched by its brilliance in some kind of way that has yet to reveal itself to me. So my top 5 Empress cards are the Fountain Tarot, the Flarkos, Shadowscapes, Tabula Mundi, and Architects. And that is for now, because that could very well change at any point as new decks or new thoughts come to mind. And I would like to shuffle and do a reading for you, and do a reading for us, do a reading for the collective for this new moon in Cancer, July the 5th, 2024. I am doing a reading workshop a little bit later today, and we are going to be doing a rose spread. And I have broken the rose spread down into parts and will be helping you to build this spread possibly as your Venus spread, as your Friday spread. And I think in taking time in breaking down the bits and pieces of large tarot spreads, you can really begin to incorporate them into your practice. And so I'm doing 5 over the course of the summer, and this is the first. And I did an example a few weeks ago as a promo for this series, and it was the Celtic Cross, and it's the video that's sitting on the front of my channel page. this is a reading for the collective. Yes, and I think there was I'm responding to Clevis's comment here. There was a healing aspect to that story as well too. She also healed, at least in the version in the book, that she healed his brother. And the reason he didn't show up on the hill was because he was with his dying brother, but in the end his dying brother was healed. Okay. What is... Okay, so I need to focus on the... she healed his uncle. Okay. The new moon energy. Let's sit in silence for a moment. And take some time, if you haven't already, as the sun sets and as you find yourself in darkness this evening, close to the energy of the new moon. Listen. Listen. Turn within. Turn within. Be the crab who nests, is at home in his shell, who feels deeply. And from this strength of the ability to feel and to listen, may we find insight as to what is in development, what is in... What I want to ask here is, what is the closest thing to the surface that is ready to put our energy into? I feel like there's always multiple things that are percolating. But which one of those things is ready for us to put some energy into, to grow, to nurture, to feed, to harmonize, so that it can be born, realized, and manifested? And as always, we ask these messages be in the highest, for the greatest good, and that no harm be done. So be it. King of Wands. Lovers. Fire. Earth. Air. It's almost like within the bubble, within that sphere. Oh, this is actually a really beautiful... I don't think I've ever really thought about this card. There's a layer of protection. There's a... I'm just trying to think what that word... Viracocha? Viracocha? That level, that layer of protection, that protective bubble that nourishes and protects. Do you know the Tarot Tube channel Madrona's Pulse? She does astrology readings. She lives near me. I don't know where she lives. Um, I really like her readings. Um, Ari, I'm going to respond to your comment in just a moment. I just want to finish this. What she said was, when we create, well, I'm going to paraphrase, a nest, the nest might not necessarily have to be alone. That this nest that we create, it's like the energy of a nest, and within that nest, there may be another. And we may cozy up with another. And yet there is still a silence and an underlying current of protection and it's just really peaceful. It's really peaceful. It's like we're comfortable in our skin with another and we don't need to change anything. We can be exactly as we are within the safety and the protection of that bubble. So what I'm seeing here is what we are, and of course that is also within the love and protection of your own bubble, of your whole self. And sometimes the Lover's card manifests as connecting to a relationship that you are presently in. But for many of us, it also connects to a healing of the relationship within ourselves. And when I see the Lover's card showing up for this new moon in Cancer, I'm reminded that this is the major arcana that comes just before Cancer season. So this is the card of Gemini in the Golden Dawn system. And right after this card comes the Chariot and the Two of Cups. And so I almost feel like this is a request from Venus, from Spirit, to pause and perhaps go back a little bit to the challenges through Gemini season that we had and ask ourselves, how can we bring that into harmony? There's something else here that I'm looking at the camera and I'm going, well, the strength and the power of the King of Wands is at the back of Venus, is at the back of the Empress. And what I was saying earlier, that these two energies of divine masculine and divine feminine energy are inseparable. And perhaps her strength is there because he is there, and he is able to be in this world because she shows up and she is there. So take this as a message of just to reinforce that idea of new moon energy, of quiet and contemplation and reflecting on the wholeness of yourself. And how you might harmonize that. And know that all aspects of yourself are blessed by the divine. I love how the light radiates down on this sphere of protection. It's almost like the King of Wands wants to break it open. She protects it, and then somehow it comes together there. It's quite a extraordinary combination of cards. Okay. So Arya doesn't like this card. It jars her like an unexpected zap of electricity. We've left her in a puddle. We've moved into steel glass cities and lost her spirit. She shames us and makes me sad, so I don't use this deck very often. And so I understand that in the fountain there is I used to find the Fountain Tarot very cold until I started looking at it in a different way, in a different light. And I believe a few years ago, I did a video on the Fountain Tarot. And if you don't know this deck, we have cards like this. You know, even the High Priestess that I showed you yesterday looks rather chilly. And the Fool card is atop this glacier or something. So I understand that comment. The Page of Coins is outdoors. Yeah. I think it's one of those decks that it's going to provoke something. And I know it is intensely uncomfortable for many people. And it's only until not you, but until we confront the decks that make us feel most uncomfortable, that we reveal something within. And I think of me and my journey with the Hush Tarot and how painful that was, that I wasn't actually sure if I could get through that deep dive. And it's one of the shortest deep dives that I did, but I did it and I went through it and I gave it my very, very best. In the end, I gave the deck away or sold it. I don't remember, but I confronted it and I learned something from it. And I am forever changed by what came through in putting that energy into that deck. Yeah. It's interesting how the tarot confronts us all. Yeah. So, on that note, blessings for this new moon. May your journey through this next lunar cycle, may you feel your journey through this next lunar cycle. Take time for silence and listen to what is growing within. Take good care. Namaste.